Yet you discover the ego, the key, the alter and the ego together. Yeah. What I would like to show, you have to keep a little bit track of the time. I have no idea of the time. How much time do I have still?
It's about 10 till, and the session ends at 10:15.
10:15.
It's 10 till 10, so you have almost a half an hour.
Okay, but it would be nice to have also some discussion.
Yes.
So,
How
yes, I take 10 to 15 minutes to present a bit more material.
That would be great.
Okay. Contradictory correlation of I position as an answer to cultural discontinuity and uncertainty. That was the common denominator of some examples which I like to give. Yeah, the situation in Ireland, Ireland was quite poor until 1995, when it became more prosperous. As a result, many immigrants came in, and then the investigators were interested, how do the people of Ireland, how do they experience this growing amount of strangers? And then here is the results. They did a limited amount of case studies, but the results are interesting enough to look at it from the perspective of contradiction. Some of the positions they formulated was, I is a good person. They said, I am okay, and they are not okay. They get here the benefits and the social welfare, and I totally reject that. But the same people, the same respondents, they said also, I as a human being, and they are also human beings. We do not own this land. And third, we as similar. There are people over here doing the same thing as we. So they found that they were different from the immigrants and even opposed to them, at the same time accepting that they were the same as them. Interestingly, there are different researches now available in different countries going into the same direction. There is a nice study in the book of Sunil Bhatia, American Karma, and he studied Indian engineers and doctors. They moved to the United States. And he showed very convincingly that these people said, we are very successful in America because we are very good engineers, good doctors we have, good jobs, we are having the same level of achievement. At the same time, they notice that there is discrimination. Children come from school and they say, well, my friend said, when do you go back to India? So there were many indications that they felt discriminated. The conclusion of Bhatia was, there is a multiplicity of acculturation strategies, and it was found that people like these Indians going to America, they felt integrated and marginalized at the same time. So these acculturation strategies do not exclude each other, but in one and the same person they go together. Yes, I like that example of Adrian van Dis, the few Dutch people in this room, if there are any. They will know this because he was a quite well-known television figure, and he's an author. He invited on television people, authors from Netherlands and other countries, and had conversations with them. And people talked about their books. But one of the fascinating things of this television program were the silences. There were these relatively long silences where nothing seemed to happen, but that gave a kind of depth to the conversations. And this man, when he stopped with it, he looked back, and let's see what he said. Period. He described himself as a coward with a sense of adventure. So what is he? Is he a coward? Or is he adventurous? Always a step forward in order to overcome my anxiety. Is he anxious? Is he courageous? And even addressing himself, I'm a fearful being, but I convince myself that I'm not. Now, that's something I learned from doing research, doing clinical work on the dialogical self. And that really convinced me that people are very determined by the environment and by themselves, but at the same time they respond to it. That I would like to answer. At the same time, people respond to any determining influence. So a person can be high score on neuroticism, but the self responds to it. And what do you make of that? And he shows that he could make a lot. However, he said, finally, about the silences in his TV program, it's all anxiety, disguised as professionalism. Yeah. Well, just one step more. Go back to this enormous multiplicity of I positions as instigated by the postmodern self. But at the same time, there is this inspiration of the modern self. We do need a certain kind of coherence in the self, a certain kind of unity. It cannot be missed, it's impossible. It would lead to even more pathology than we would miss it. So the third position implies that two different and conflicting positions, they can be brought together and form on a somewhat higher level a kind of new unity. Example of that. There's a very nice case study from Brazil by Branco and colleagues, and it was about a lesbian woman in Catholic Brazil. That's a terrible situation. Very Catholic family, but she was lesbian and she went to a lesbian community. And this created an enormous tension. So she talked with father, with mother, and with a priest. The priest tried to convince her that she had to go back to the right track. So forget about your lesbian nature because you are a Catholic. Well, finally she found a solution. She was very Christian herself, very Catholic herself, and she was very inspired by the fact that you can help another person. So what she did, she went to the lesbian community in order to help their lesbian colleagues who were in a problematic situation. And she called it I as a missionary. It's a kind of, not an old-fashioned, but a new missionary, where in that same positions, the energies of the two original positions, I as lesbian and I as Catholic, somewhere they contributed to some kind of higher level of integration or unity. Second example, I'm very short about that, but there is another very nice case studies. It will be published in the handbook on the Dialogical Self Theory. I would advise you that when you are interested in the Dialogical Self, at the end of this year, Cambridge University Press, Handbook of the Dialogical Self, with 29 chapters from authors from 15 countries. We have done an enormous job the past 2 years to bring all these people together. One of them is Surgeon and Abby, and they show a beautiful case study where a woman with her children is moving from the Latin American situation to the United States and back, and again back to the United States. And they describe that she is quite interdependent when she is in the Latin American situation, and has to learn to become very independent in the American situation. But finally, she develops a position which is characterized by the authors as interdependent independence. Interdependent independence. So she's both at the same time. She combines it. So it's like not everybody helps each other. It's not do your own things, but you ask another person for help, and you help another person when you ask me. And then there is in Israel is quite a promising project on the basis of the idea that negotiations between people can also take place within the self. So there are different kinds of negotiations. Win-lose relationship, one position wins and the other loses, and they can be transformed into win-win relationship. Maybe a very brief example. A person in a company, she becomes bored and she wants to have a new challenge. But at the same time, she wants to have a safe environment. She wants safety and she wants to have the new challenge. Conflicting. How to transform a win-lose relationship into a win-win. Finally, she found it. She went to her boss and said, I want to stay in this company, but please give me another job here. She wanted to have another challenge, and then she could survive in this situation. She combined it and developed a third position. Yes, now we come, for the last 5 minutes, we come to an important concept. Again, this great multiplicity of positions inspired by the postmodern itself, the model, somewhere, how can it be lifted up to the level of unity? It can be done by introducing a new concept, which is the meta position. Meta position is a helicopter. So you sit in a helicopter, you go up, and you look all those positions there, and you see a pattern, you see a composition. And what are the features of a meta position? There is an overarching view on several positions. There are linkages between